Stupid! Welcome back to another episode of Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
It's the one and only Trinidadian Panamanian Poppy Rude Boy, Top Gunner, Sok Panyamada, aka Vengeance. Hello, everyone.
What's going on, folks? Bash Nissa, recording live from Queens. Jill is in Brooklyn. Another beautiful episode of Black Seinfeld. What's going on, folks?
What's going on, folks? It's not another it's another beautiful episode, but it's not another beautiful day because every time we've been recording Black Seinfeld Bastion, it's been getting cold again, okay? This past days, it was like 70 degrees, it was like 75 degrees, 65 degrees, it was all beautiful and warm. Then I come back and it starts snowing out of nowhere, and it's raining, and it's snow mixed with rain, and then there's some slush on the floor, and I don't like this. Someone's gonna get sick again.
Yeah, I was shocked because I kind of woke up late this morning to look outside and just see snow. Like my boy texted the group chat and was like, "Oh, snowing outside." Like, no way. Maybe just a little bit, but it was sticking to the floor, and you see like maybe an inch off the ground. So very disappointing because we just came from a beautiful weekend. I was out this weekend. I took just to quickly talk about like the weather. I was sweating in the hoodie jacket combo I had. That's how nice it was this weekend.
Me too.
Disrespectful.
Super disrespectful. And this is just another one of those New York bipolar weather incidents. One day you'll be sweating with your hoodie on, with your sweatshirt on, and then the next I have my Tim's back on.
I'm so glad I didn't go outside today. Didn't really have much to do, but I did keep an eye to make sure I don't have to put salt on the streets. You know how it is for homeowners.
I understand completely how it is for homeowners. That is the one thing I dread whenever it starts to snow, especially if you don't know how much we're gonna get. You always have to check, just in case. If you just have to lay out some snow, just in case your sidewalk turns into black ice.
Yeah, slipping on your steps isn't fun.
Ooh.
Your own steps.
Yeah, you can't sue anyone but yourself.
Yeah, sad boy style.
Yeah.
And speaking of this weekend has been a bit interesting for me.
Yeah, what have you been up to this weekend, bro?
Normally, if I go out, the first thing I'll try to do is, drive my BM. But this weekend, I didn't drive.
You are a New York man.
I was going out to the city, and within these days, what the activities I was doing, I was going out to the city, and I knew I was going to start drinking, so I didn't drive. But two, it's because of the gas prices.
Yeah, man. I immediately thought about you as soon as I saw, for the first time since 2008, for the first time since the Bush administration, folks, gas is now up $4 here in the city and other parts of the state as well. I'm sure it's going to be higher in different parts of the state that where they require cars to be driven, unlike here in New York. But I thought that was very interesting, and well, not even interesting. I thought everything goes around in full circle, but it goes to show how much war can affect everything without getting into the war, but how much war can affect us as far as gas prices go, as far as just regular prices, as far as just simple groceries go. I think it's nuts to see that. But also, Bashan, I'm just tired of y'all people who are showing around memes talking about how Trump talked about this in one of his press conferences, one of his tours, saying, "Oh, watch when Joe Biden is president. Watch the gas prices go up. See, look at me. I'm the president. Gas is $2. Y'all need to stop listening to that man, okay? Because he's just trying to gas you up. He's pimping you right now, and you falling for it."
Yeah, because he has nothing to do. Government officials don't really have much to do with gas prices. It's more of where we get our gas from, either Saudi Arabia or as we were getting gas from Russia. So yeah, that's going to be like a small contingency, but it's like not having a contingency plan. That's probably something interesting about our government. You can say the same thing about airlines when COVID happened and how most of them were like begging for a bailout. It's like, oh, so you live in check to check, and you mad at like us millennials if we're 33 and we don't have a savings account. You mad like, oh, how come you don't know how to like save money just in case something happens, right? Funds first. Like, no, everybody's check to check. and it shows. And so is gas, right?
Yes.
Depending on like the companies we are getting these gas from. And then I think the biggest problem, and I've definitely spoke about this on the show many times, is that we live too much in the car centric society. Too many houses are built in rural areas where you have to drive 20 minutes outside of your town just to get food. It's not even talking about food deserts. It's just that's where all the groceries are. And then now instead of building mall strips, which are great ideas, not just mall strip, just like a strip of streets where there's store after store after store, we decided to build just like big places of car lots and like a big ass Best Buy in the middle. The next door is a Walmart. The next door is, that's like you're taking space of what could be
So,
18 different stores, but now you're just using one lot for one store at a time.
sounds like you're describing what Green Acres is in Long Island.
Yeah, Green Acres is a
That's exactly
spot.
that because you said Walmart is there, Target is there. I'm like, are you talking about Green Acres right now? And
That's not just Green Acres. That's all around the world. There's so many of
really,
these type of spots all around the world. I meant to say all around the United States, outside of cities.
he was
Once you're
listening to
outside,
Daft Punk people.
once you leave outside the city limits, you're now surrounded by open space. And these open space really does take advantage of driving. You have to drive to these spaces. So now when you look at the gas prices in New York, last I checked, yesterday was $4.11, right? That adds up when you're doing multiple trips throughout the week, especially if you're driving a gas guzzler. Like my boy, he wanted a Jeep Wrangler. I was like, you're crazy for wanting that in this day and age. I understand if you want a Tesla and you can't get it because of the environment, because of like housing, like you live in an apartment, but like you want a Jeep Wrangler
We
that
dis
takes 22 miles to the gallon. You got money for gas?
Bastion, we discussed the Jeep Wrangler and why people are buying it. I told you why. It's the new Chrysler 300. They wanted to get a G Wagon. They cannot afford the G Wagon, so the Wrangler is the best option.
Poor man G Wagon.
It is the
Got it.
poor man G Wagon. It is today's Chrysler 300.
So that is one of the big issues of today, and it's driving right now, and it's gas. Like, yeah, I'm not going to blame it on Biden. I'm going to blame it on us as a society for the past 60 years. We just started to focus on building houses and areas and stuff, but I can't do anything about it. Shout out to urban developers.
Hey, I did feel for you as soon as the report came out that gas has been up $4. I'm like, damn, I know Bastion is a driver. I kind of feel bad for him, and he's from Queens. And I don't know if you people who know this or not, who's listening to this around the world, but people in Queens can be very suburban at time. It's one of the longest boroughs that we have throughout the 5 boroughs. So whenever you go to Queens, most Queens residents has a car because if you do take public transportation, you might have to take a bus and then a train to get to wherever you need to get to. I do that all the time. For example, I have a grandmother that lives in Springfield Gardens, so I would take the J train to Jamaica Center and then hop on the bus to go out to her. And what's crazy is, ironically enough, I think Springfield Gardens, like if you take like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive outwards, then you're in Long Island too. You're in Green Acres, basically.
Yeah, basically. And you're right. That's the best way to describe Queens. No matter where you are, you need a bus to the train. It's not, and the thing is, like, it is designed nicely where wherever you are, it could take you between 20 to 30 minutes to get to a train near you.
Hmm.
The problem is when you're leaving the city at night. So let's say, and this is the first time I've taken the bus 2 days in a row, which is funny to me because I tried to take the bus and try to take an Uber or Lyft or a taxi straight to my place.
Makes sense.
But yeah, take from Queens, it could be 20 minutes to the city, it could be 50. Then going back from the city to Queens at night could be an extra 70 minutes. And then the 20 minutes for the bus because you're waiting. So yeah, I don't miss that, but it was very interesting to do that 2 days in a row. And I haven't done that type of thing for the past like 3 years, for 3 or 4 years. So maybe like
Yeah.
late 2018, I stopped doing that.
Yeah, you don't exercise that brain anymore of, okay, in order for me to get here, I need to take this, then transfer off and take this to get to this place. You didn't have to exercise that anymore because mostly you were just driving everywhere. And then since you didn't work in the city anymore, like you don't exercise that city brain. And I totally understand what that was like when I started working back in Brooklyn. When I started working in Brooklyn for the first time, I never went back to the city like that at all because everything was just Brooklyn. It was just here to Atlantic Avenue, then back home. So everything was just under 20 minutes. And now that I'm in Queens, I don't go to Manhattan that often either. Only time I go to Manhattan is if I want to go see a movie, and that isn't very often anymore since I'm working all the time. It's just this train to that train and I'm in Queens, So I totally understand. I will say though, as someone who's frequented Queens very often now throughout his life, like I said, grandma lives in Queens. I've been to York College and now I work in Queens again. I still cannot get used to your number situations when it comes to the streets. Because you'll have 47th Avenue, then you'll have 47th Drive, then you have 47th Street, then you make one turn, then you're on 33rd Road. And I'm just like, it can be very confusing at times. Here in Brooklyn, we have names, and I get the names quicker.
Yeah. See, the thing about the names is you have to be from the area to know what it is. So you understand the intersections to where you're going. That's how I feel about it.
That's fair.
Same thing for Queens. Once you see like the first three numbers, you should know the pattern. And then you can make your turn at like 223 Drive or something, or understand when's the street. So I totally get it. But I think you just have to stay in the area long enough for more than 6 months, then you start picking it up.
That's fair.
Yeah, if you're not from there, like, and you only come once in the blue moon, you're not thinking about the streets, like what's parallel to Springfield Gardens, like how far is Hillside from there? Can you walk there, right? So that if you're not thinking about that, then yeah, you won't really know what the numbers are in Queens.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes when my manager and we order food, she's like, and she's from Queens, so since we work in Long Island City, we would order stuff that's like around Astoria or just further out. And then when she tells me the address and where it is, I always say I don't know what that means, how far it is from us, and so she'll like break it down for me to understand and yeah, that's how
Yeah,
that goes.
I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. I'm
Mhm.
more of a southeast person in Queens. Don't know much about Astoria or uptown, up or the top part of Queens.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's fair. Like Astoria, the places that we order from in Astoria is basically like the Steinway area.
Yeah,
So
I'm familiar. R train, hop off to Steinway.
yeah, and for those of you who do not remember, Steinway was notorious back during the lockdown, where a lot of people were around Steinway. It was basically like the new, it was the new Van Dyke. Basically, it was the new
Yeah.
Uptown for a while.
Best way to describe Steinway is just a hookah lounge. That's it.
Yeah, I love hookahs. What? I would love to go to Astoria for some hookah.
Check your chest.
Hey,
Get
no.
extra.
Hey, man, I'll tell you something though. What they do in the hookah lounge, they have this thing called the ice chamber, so it cools down the hookah. So it doesn't give you that raspy feeling in your throat and all that. So that's a big helper out there, and it's a good welcoming thing for people who do not smoke hookah. I don't smoke it frequently, but I'm not gonna lie, it is fun. It is fun. For me, Bastion, what I've been doing for this past couple of days, for this past week, I was on PTO and I enjoyed it. I deserve it. For those of you who do not know, PTO means paid time off. That's right. I could take a day off and they will still pay me for it. Have a number of hours that I can use throughout the year, and I decided to use it for the past week. I was off Friday and then Saturday, Sunday, and then I was off Monday. And it was one of the best times I've ever had because I deserved it. I'm not going to lie. I'm only off one day out of the week, and I deserved it. And it was
I feel
great.
you.
I
I
got
feel
to
you.
wake up later. I got to go eat breakfast at a diner. You know what I'm saying? And then after the diner, I went to go do some tings. And I got to meet up with you. We got to watch the Batman. And then after that, get to drink a little bit and then do it all over again and again and again. And then Monday came and everyone was at work and everyone was at school. And I went to go see the Batman again in an empty theater. I felt like
Matinee.
myself again. Exactly, the matinee, which you can see the movie for like $8. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. And New York City is back too, people. I'm telling you, that Monday when it was like 75 degrees and that mask mandate was officially lifted, that's a great way to start off this segment. This is a good COVID update, Bastion. Since the New York City mask mandate for theaters, public schools, all that stuff is now lifted, indoor dining, since that's all lifted, New York City is back. My experience was nuts that Monday because during lunchtime, everyone was outside. Everyone just was able to go into stores without their mask on, with their mask on. It was their prerogative. No one stopped them. So 2 years ago, when everyone was like, oh, New York is dead, I knew it wouldn't be for long. As soon as all this stuff started to become normal and everything started to become lifted, New York would be what it once was again. And that's a cesspool. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is here. I know Bastion is angry about it. I know how you feel, Bastion. I see him rolling his eyes already. I see him shaking his head. But it's back. We back, baby. Go New York. Go New York. Go New. No, I'm sorry.
It's the Knicks chant. But yeah, it is very interesting to see how. I think we're just ready for it. I can't be angry. I could be, hopeful. That's the most I could be. I can't be angry. I could be hopeful that like nothing happens by the summertime. That everything slowly starts going back. Am I going to still wear the mask? Yeah, I just bought another box.
Same.
So as long as people are continuing to get vaccinated and just waiting for the new upgrades for the vaccines too, waiting for the new patch update to download to my system, but we haven't gotten much of word out. Have you heard anything about that?
I have
Nothing?
not heard it. I'm going to be honest with you, Bastion.
Yeah.
There hasn't been much said about COVID as of lately.
And that's the problem.
There's certain news that's out there that you have to look for because of the other global catastrophic events that is occurring right now. I'm not going to say everyone's, but a lot of media is focused on that. There's a lot,
they can multitask.
They can multitask.
Have hired staff. No, they can't.
But Bastion, we're no
There's
longer.
only so many hours on the box you can talk. We talk on the show for 2 hours. They have a whole 1 hour show. 90% about one topic.
Exactly. And Bastion, I'm telling you, all of the white girls are dancing to relieve these issues that are that are happening at the moment. So Black Seinfeld would like to, officially throw our hats in the dancing game. If you all dance with us to help bring awareness for the Ukraine efforts, this would be a great way to show our unity and our support to the Ukraine by making some TikTok dances.
Yeah. How long did you think about it? Did you think about how today's social media will interact with how events like war will interact with it? Like in terms of like jokes, right? The way people tell jokes, the way people create content, and the way people inform through these type of mediums. Did you ever think about that?
Bastion, if 2020 has taught me anything, when we were all home and people and just celebrities and people with a voice or influencers have this power to like say something, I have learned that a lot of these people who feel the need that they need to say something because, again, who the cares about what Ja Rule has to say at a time like this? I realize a lot of the times it's very tone deaf. All of it can be and is very tone deaf because these people feel like I have this voice that influences millions, that influences the world, and I feel like my opinion matters. Hence, when all those white actors talked about how they take responsibility for all the harm that's been caused from black people during the 2020 riots, I'd like to call it. That was very telling to me because here we have another actor telling Vladimir Putin that if she was his mom, she would show him so much love and X, Y, and Z. So, and plus,
Isn't that arrogant? That I hope the listeners know what video we're talking about. If not, just type in "wants to be mommy Putin" on Google, and that should be the first meme you see. But isn't that sort of arrogance to think that
yeah,
like Putin got no love from his mom per se?
it's arrogant, but also it's just I. Why do you feel the need to like post this though?
It's not the first time she's done that too.
Really?
Yeah, she's done that in other. I don't remember the context, but she also said like, "If I were your mom, I would give you." And this is you're right. This is tone deaf. I don't know if it's a showboat. It's not showboating. I wouldn't use that,
It's
but
not
you're kind of
showboating.
showing your talents in the wrong form, right? If you're an actress and you want to be this caring mother on a Lifetime TV like movie, then sure, like do a little skit on YouTube. But you can't look at the like a global crisis that's going on right now and just look for the key factors and create a Lifetime script off of that. It's like if I was your mom, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think sometimes it's okay for these influencers to just shut the fuck up. It's okay. We don't need this from you right now. Or I have this theory that maybe they're doing this intentionally just for the eyes to get put on them because a lot of the times they're not really relevant anymore, so they need something to get their name out there.
You know what I realized in the social media game? Every any old school social media, any type of clout is good clout,
Yeah,
right? In today's, bad clout messes up with sponsors. So
it can.
they're not trying to do bad clout anymore. Bad clout used to bring in the views.
Yeah.
Now it just brings in the thumbs down. So when you need the sponsors, they'll just talk about like, hey, you did this really weird video 3 months ago. We don't want to sponsor you
Yeah,
unless you
clout
want to.
chasing is
Yeah.
going down. Absolutely. I will say that.
No, it's
And
going up, but it's now, as you said, tone deaf because now they're trying to choose. Maybe they will focus on things that are like marginalized and try to bring it into the world to see, but they're not doing it correctly. Maybe they're doing it with lack of knowledge, as I said, using the term arrogant, because you can't be arrogant thinking that you yourself could be the savior.
yeah, people can be too woke for their own good.
Yeah, woke. See, you could be woke and still not comprehend why you're woke about a certain topic.
Yeah, you're too woke for your own good. You're trying to go with what the majority is saying, but when you're doing that, you're saying it in the way where it seems tone deaf and also it's coming from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
Similar to when Ellen DeGeneres was talking about how crazy COVID is while she's in her big ass mansion doing the Ellen show from home, and she's in this like it's like you see this glass window, you just see freaking this bomb ass view. Meanwhile, people are getting kicked out of their homes, and it's all just like screwed up,
Yeah, it's
tone deaf.
painful.
Super painful. At least like do it in a studio or something. And this is how funny social media has become because immediately when we heard about these Russian bombings happening in the capital of Ukraine, the first person I started seeing trending was Ja Rule. Was Ja Rule because people wanted to know how Ja Rule felt at a time like this.
Yeah. Call him on CNN. Let's do a quick report, 5 minutes. 1, 2, 3, we're done.
And that's why, folks, that Dave Chappelle joke will never go out of style and it will always be relevant to this very day.
Forever.
Yeah. But also, bashing back to the whole COVID stuff going on, the death toll for the worldly deaths of COVID 19 has now reached the 6 million mark. So, another big W for us here in Earth. That's what we do. Sad, man. It's really sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but it's all about what we do as a country. And I'm not saying we as you and I, but more like the people we vote and what they do as a country.
Yeah, I get it. I know. And we see what they're doing, man. They don't really. Well, some countries don't care anymore, while others are still taking this serious. I know that places in Canada, like Montreal, they were in lockdown again. There's other countries that went on another lockdown. But hey, COVID-19 people, it's still gonna be here, so don't worry. Black Seinfeld's still gonna give you the latest updates on COVID-19. We've been doing this now for 2 damn years, so we can't go back now. Okay, so for all of you like, oh, you see how we don't hear much about COVID-19 anymore? That's because they got rid of it, and now that they got rid of it, we got the war going on. See, that's how you know the COVID-19 was man-made. Nah, don't worry, we got you, King. Oh man, I was getting a shape up the other day, and like, respect to the barbers there, but some
No
of them
respect for any barber.
No,
besides
man.
their profession.
But respect to the barbers, man. We need them
Respect the barbers,
in our community. However, sometimes some of them can be hotep, and bro,
we need them for the community, but we don't need them in the community.
Nah, man, we need some black men to look up to, but just when they get into that whole teppery bag, it's just no. No. I remember specifically there was a conversation about how the human brain is using about 40% of its capacity on what it could do. And I felt like I wanted to go in there and it's like, actually, guys, the human brain, like for humans, they can only use about 10%. It's not 40. But it went to that whole, we not use that 100% of our brain, so we gotta drink that Cayman water. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get on that alkaline, and we gotta listen to Dr. Sabi, and we gotta eat better because it's the foods that's messing us up. It's the GMOs that's messing us up, King. And we gotta eat better. We gotta eat that wild rice. You know what I'm saying? We gotta eat that wild rice. We gotta stop eating all that acidity. And once we cleanse ourselves and we cleanse our being, we can use 100% of our potential. We can be superhumans.
He's kind of half right, but it's like the first thing they're going to do is buy like pills, right? Like whoever is selling the superhuman stuff will sell you superhuman pills because you want to be around the bush. You don't really want to do the work. You want to just jumpstart it.
Or just make a quick buck.
Yeah, like those diet pills, right? It's like, you could work out, you could choose a diet, or you could listen to Dr. So and so and buy these non-prescription diet pills. So
all you need is a commercial too, or just someone to be like someone to play witness. Like, oh man, I remember before I took these, I couldn't really sit down. My muscles in my back were aching. And then after I took this, I feel like I'm 25 again. I'm gonna be 49 next year, so I feel like I'm 25 right now.
Refreshing. So let's get into the first song of the week.
Absolutely. First song of the week, people. We're going to do something a bit different. We are amongst the 25th anniversary of the death of the one notorious B.I.G. And instead of just playing Biggie records, I'm going to play records, since it's still Women's History Month, I'm going to play records from women that have been influenced by Biggie, that have probably used his lyrics, used his hooks, used his songs to help accentuate their music. So, for example, this next song comes from one of our favorite musical acts, Bastion, the one, the only, Ashanti. And this is Unfoolish. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Black Seinfeld. Show about nothing. You done know.
And another one.
That was Ashanti with Unfoolish. Not foolish, but unfoolish, featuring, of course, the late, the great, notorious B.I.G. Bastion. I know this took you back to like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, yeah. It was probably strange listening to the song knowing like someone passed away and they're still using their vocals. Did Was this song like old tracks or was this from another song?
This was old tracks.
Old track. Do you remember what track or no? I might have to
No,
look it up.
no,
Okay.
I don't. I mean, I know the beat is from One More Chance, Stay With Me, but
Yeah,
I
the
didn't know
verse.
where they got that verse from at all.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I know it's one more chance,
Hmm.
but it's just like the verse. That's when I realized like rappers kind of have. I think that around that era, that's when I realized rappers do have a lot of unreleased songs that
Yes.
don't make it to the album cut, but the manager or whoever owns the masters could use whenever they want.
It's probably like probably Diddy at the time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Diddy was all over Ashanti Records at one point when Murder Inc. was hot. You know, you had Ja, of course, and then Ashanti, respectfully. Those were the two big names from Murder Inc. I wasn't listening to Black Child. Sorry. Like, respectfully, my bad. But, I wasn't. It was only Ja and Ashanti, respectfully. Still love Ashanti to this very day. It's funny though, Bash, because I have a client who's a bodyguard, right? And he bodyguards for Ashanti. So every time I see this client, I'm like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And he always talks about the people that he's bodyguarding, the people that he's working security for. I always tell him, like, look, blank, I don't care about none of these people. When are you going to bring Ashanti to us? Every time I see him, he's like, look, man, she's busy. I'm like, I understand that, but hey, maybe like a cameo video or something. Just say, I just need a high geo. That's all I need, and that's good. Or, hey, this is Ashanti, and you tuned in to Black Seinfeld. That's all we need. I don't need anything else. I don't want to interview. We just want a cosign, a drop.
Drops. That's interesting.
Yeah, think about it. You know how BAI, they have that Kanye drop from it says 2005 Kanye before he lost his mind. I just want to preface that, people. But Kanye, they have the Kanye drop. Hey, this is Kanye West. You tune in to WBAI. I want something like that, but just for Black Seinfeld.
Yeah, over the phone. But I
Over the
guess
phone.
now, due to tech, we can clean it up a little bit.
Absolutely. That's what I want for Black Seinfeld before we play the intro, like, yo, you tune into Black Seinfeld, this is such and such. Or, we hit the music for a music break, and then when we cut back, we play one of the drops, and then like, hey, we're back, Black Seinfeld show about nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
Yeah. Bashman, I got a question for you. This has been on my mind for the past week or two, or ever since, and I know this is like completely out of left field and it's sports related, but we don't really talk about sports like that. Bronny James. Do you feel like I feel like Bronny James is going to make it to the NBA by the detriment of his father being LeBron? Because LeBron keeps saying, hey, if you want me to play on your team, all you have to do is sign my son. And as a dad, I get it. I respect what he's doing. But is he as good as Bron? Does Bronny?
He said, "As a dad, like you're a dad."
Hey, man, you're right. I mean, he's looking out for the best for his son. I get it. Why not?
So, as a son, I understand dad wants the best.
Yeah, as a son, I get it.
There you go. Yeah.
He wants the best for his son. I get it. He wants the best for him. I understand that.
Gotcha.
But is it to his detriment, though? Is Bronny that nice? You feel what I'm saying? Like, what happens when he goes to the NBA and then he plays with his dad for maybe his last year in the NBA, and his dad goes off? What happens then? It's all on Bronny. Is Bronny even that good?
I don't know. I don't know why he is pushing that, because you could say the same thing about like Dwayne Wade and his son.
Yeah.
Because his son is actually part of like the G League under the G League.
Wait, whoa, there's a G League under the G League?
Yeah, it's for high school players that don't want to go
Oh,
to college.
wait, what?
Yeah, so now in this post it's like LeVar Ball era, a
Mm.
lot of high school players realize that they don't have to go to like NCAA in order to, get better at basketball. But now instead, you could just go to either overseas or any of these camps, or you could join something with the G League where they actually do pay you.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so would Brawny have to go to the G League, the G League Plus, and then
It's still combined with the G League, but it's like it's designed in order to kind of like fix you up.
mm,
But all right, so the way I look at it is, you know who Ken Griffey Jr. is from the Seattle Mariners?
yes,
Okay, one of the best baseball players of our time.
he was one of the
Hit
reasons why people was watching baseballs back during that time. Ken Griffey Jr., Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, but basically
Yeah.
when everyone's on steroids,
So
allegedly.
so
Roger
for him,
Clemens, sorry.
but he's like the most beloved out of everybody
Oh, absolutely.
because
And he's
his father
black.
is Ken Griffey,
Yes.
also a great baseball player.
Yes.
But they knew Ken Griffey Jr. was going to be great by the time he was 16. He did tryouts by the time he was 18, did one season, I think, and maybe like the league before Major League, and then boom, he's a 19-year-old in MLB, which is rare, by the way. It's like you really got to be super crazy good to get into baseball at that age. Not like basketball. You be 18 playing in the NBA,
That is true.
but like maybe that's what LeBron wants in his son. He wants LeBron to be Kenny Griffey Jr., like just in his own field of category. Because he was the same way. Like I said, Ken Griffey was great, and his son is in baseball too. So it was like, all right, so maybe he'll be great too. But things
So
happen.
I hear that. But also, you got to think about the two of the most prolific ball players of our time that didn't go to college and they came straight out of high school. One was Kobe, the other was his dad, LeBron. That is some huge shoes to fill. And honestly, I don't hear much about Bronny other than Braun wants to play with Bronny. That's all I hear about Bronny, respectfully.
So I never had these type of thoughts or conversations because do the two things, like I don't watch young high school players play basketball
Mm,
because I'm not a sports scouter, right?
that's
I don't
fair.
know who's up and who's next. I am more focused on like people that make big waves in college and people that make big waves in like overseas. Like, oh, this person's going to look like top 10 first round pick in the draft this year. Like, this is who you want to talk about. But you're right, because most of these players that make it to the NBA, you could find them in high school scoring 50 points a game. You could find them in high school during the McDonald's American League. Like you
Mhm.
see
Yes.
old footage of LeBron versus Carmelo Anthony,
Yes.
right? And it's like no one's talking about, like everybody was talking about Carmelo, but everybody was like looking at LeBron. And then Carmelo's also one of the great best players of our era too. Also a Laker, ironically at the moment.
Right. And also I always think about just the legacy and the shoes that they have to fill. For example, Michael Jordan's kids, they played ball. You never really heard anything about them like that at all.
I do think the sense of urgency was a little bit different. Like LeBron, and we've seen the footage, we've seen the movies. We know what his childhood is like.
Yes.
Basketball was life for him
Yes.
until he was like 17. That's when maybe like until he was like 16. That's when he saw the vision. Like the NBA is right there, right? But Bronny doesn't have those woes, those pains.
He grew up rich.
Yeah, exactly. He had everything, and I am saying that it is a factor, like what can make you a great artist because you're not in pain for it, right? There's no sense of urgency for it. There's a sense of urgency when you're a kid and you're poor and you're trying to get into the NBA. It's like you're trying to get there at 18 and not 21.
That is a
But
good point.
you could be a great player at 21 playing all 4 years in college. Michael Jordan played 2 years in college.
Yeah, and Michael Jordan
4
grew up
years.
poor. He
Yeah,
grew up poor, and he grew up wanting to be better than his brother.
he grew up working class. He grew up working class.
Oh, he grew up working class, fair, but he grew up wanting to be better than his brother.
Yeah. So, he well, no, Mike Jordan's just crazy. Same thing
We
Kobe.
know
It's like they just
they're
have
they're
these things.
psychos.
Yeah, they just have these things in their head where they have to be number one. And not everybody has that, right?
Yeah, that can't be taught. You have to be a sociopath.
Yeah, it can't be taught. You have this like ambition
Right.
that you're able to just go for it. And like I said, I don't know Ronnie.
Me
I don't
neither.
know
We don't know
these
him.
players of kids, but you understand it's like where they're coming from. Like these NBA players, they grinded really, really, really hard just to get to where they are now.
That's
It's like,
right.
yeah, but your kids don't have to grind that hard. If anything, they could have an excellent education, hire them good tutors. They want to be a doctor, PhD. They have the funds for that. It's not a bad thing to do.
And it's not his fault either, too, because parents always say, I wanted to provide my child with a better life. And he has that better life, but you also have to take into account when that child has a better life, sometimes they're not going to understand what it's like for you when you came up, because all they know is this lifestyle. They know this, more privileged lifestyle. So they're not going to understand poverty like that. They can see it, but they're not going to fully understand it because they haven't lived it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. It's really hard to find like the best opportunity. It's like, you think of like Jermaine Dupri, and like his dad is the reason like he was able to do what he was doing at like 19, because his dad was funding him like with all his talents, because his dad did all that too. So you can still fund your talented son. Jermaine Dupri is still one of our best producers in the 90s, but you gotta look at his story almost the same way. It's like, oh, I'll bring my son up. He's playing the game. He also be a talent and find artists and produce. It's like, okay, but
That's
he's
fair.
good. So you never know.
That's fair.
Like I said, I have like examples for days, but there's a lot more duds than successes.
That is true. So yeah, that's why I was just wondering, because that was on my mind for the longest, because it keeps playing in my head, and I'm just like, well, then what team would want Bronny for LeBron? Because I think because it's like a package duo, right? Yep. If you want one, you have to get the other. So what team is going to want to do that?
A team that needs to sell tickets within the next couple of years, and we're going to talk about one of these days. The NBA is looking to expand 2 more teams into the NBA to make 16 on each conferences. And right now, I think they're looking at Seattle and maybe Las Vegas to create 2 new NBA teams. Those 2 NBA teams need to sell tickets.
So they're going to bring back the Supersonics, I'm assuming?
No, I doubt it. I think they'll just do something else.
Okay, but Vegas makes the most sense as well, too, as far as...
Yeah, god awful, but, it'd be great.
God awful, but, it's still Vegas, and everyone's going to get smashed watching a damn basketball game. I mean, they brought the football team. They brought the Raiders to Vegas, so it only makes sense. They have a hockey team with the with the Knights, with the Golden Knights. Then they have the Raiders, and now a basketball team in Vegas. It only makes sense.
So that's my theory. It'd be one of those 2, or if another city gets it. I don't know if Seattle deserves it. But Las Vegas definitely is a good spot.
I mean, Seattle's probably crying over the fact that Russell Wilson is no longer there anymore. So, throw them a bone.
Traded to the Broncos.
Traded to the Broncos, man. And shoot, I'm not gonna lie, the Broncos gave them a huge package deal just for Russell Wilson. They got the quarterbacks. They got a couple of draft round picks, more players. They picked up at least like 5 players and some draft round picks for Russell Wilson. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this is going to be the rebuilding stages of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that, Bastion. So, what's this crap going on with Hurts? I remember you showing me this article about there's this case file involving Hurts where they admit to. Hold on, let me get
Wait, they don't admit to anything. So I could quickly go over it.
Oh, that's what the title says. Okay, please go over what it says.
What hurts? So the thing about Hertz, so this hit the news wave earlier this week. Around about 220 people are currently suing Hertz, who allege they were wrongfully arrested after Hertz reported them to the police for stealing cars that they had rented. According to Bloomberg, those who have claimed Hertz had them wrongfully arrested have filed claims in bankruptcy court, demanding to be paid like other creditors of the company. The U.S. bankruptcy judge Mary Walroth sided with the advocates for the 220 people suing Hertz, who argued more details about Hertz' internal system. So there's actually a couple things that Hertz lack in as being a company. Like they spoke about their faulty computer systems. They can't keep track of inventory, and there are actually cases. Instead of investigating for missing cars themselves, they will actually just call the police and just like say, "Oh, it's someone stole it." And according to USA Today, there are actually multiple reports, like a police station that will constantly get these reports, and then they find the vehicle in the lot. So it was up to the point where they no longer,
We'll
every
take
time
those
they
calls.
take those calls. So anytime they do a report saying, "Hey, one of our vehicles went missing. Can you help us?" It's like, you sure it's not in the lot? You got to keep better track of your vehicles. And just quick jump in, as someone that worked in the car industry before, inventory is very, very, very important. There are a lot of systems to keep in track with inventory. And one of the interesting part of this, one way to keep in track of where your cars are is to have a sort of tracking device on there. And I feel as huge as the company as Hertz, they should have something so they're able to locate where certain vehicles are going, because they're able to tag their license. So let's say you take this car out of state, even though you said you weren't going to go out of state, then boom, you're going to get in trouble. And then they could, like, put a little fee in that, but they're able to know where everything is going. So far, the court judge ordered Hertz. So this is like big news. This is what made it trend this week. The court judge ordered Hertz to unseal documents that show the company filed more than 3,300 stolen vehicle reports on their customers every year for the past like 7 years.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the biggest things. People were very shocked and surprised, and there are some like very sad stories. Um, I do have a few listed. Like one of them was a NASA employee who allegedly was arrested at gunpoint after Hertz reported that the vehicle he had rented was stolen. Another one, a woman spent 40 days in jail because she was arrested for car theft.
Damn.
Another person was spent 7 months in jail, and the only way they were able to kind of like let the charges like be free is they had to sign a plea deal.
Oh man. Well, I hope all of these people sue their asses.
Yeah. So
I hope they
now
do.
there's more stories coming. Now they already had those 220 people. Now more people that had those same incidents are reporting and also trying to sue Hertz as well. And it could say a lot more about the system, because it's very easy for employees to be lazy. And
Yeah.
you, as a large corporation, could say, we aren't like that. It's like, no, it's not about we. It's like there are individuals that make mistakes that could affect people's lives. And this is one of them. And the worst part is they don't own up to it, they don't cancel it. And I have one more example I read. There was a gentleman, he was running for local government. And because of this incident, he could no longer run for local government because he has a record. He was in jail for 3 months because he uh the case his case was interesting, is he was renting the car every single day and he had to keep doing the payments.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the days the police ran up to him and said, "Oh, you stole this car." I said, "No, I paid it." And he said, "No, this car has been stolen for a couple of weeks." Like, "No, I paid for it." So they went to court. Hertz was very, very strict, saying like, "No, you stole the car, you didn't pay for it." But he was
Huh?
able to show receipts
Right.
like from his credit card being processed by Hertz every single day, and they still and the jury still put him guilty. So
Wait a
he
minute.
got probation, and I think he messed up his probation, so he went to jail for a couple months. But they asked him to take a plea deal, and he still hasn't signed a plea deal because he's not guilty.
How do you steal something and get a receipt for it?
No, like it's not like a receipt like the email receipt, but he's showing
Right,
the
it's on your
credit card
credit card. I
transactions.
know how it
Yeah,
works. Like
yeah,
sometimes when you get stuff in the mail from your credit card company, you'll see what the charges go to, or you could just check it on your phone,
yeah.
right? But so my thing is, if there's something that indicates yes, I am paying for this, and this has been taken out of this company, how the hell is he still getting convicted for it?
Well, when you're facing lawyers that are incompetent or very competent, they're able to choose certain juries in order to go your way. So that's how I felt. It's like he went to court and the juries said he was guilty, even though he had proof that he was paying these making these payments. Uh, and it was a scary sight. And one of the reasons Hertz didn't want this news to come out in public is because they didn't want like the competitors to know their tactics or what they do on the side because it make them look bad. It's like, no, dude, you're ruining
See,
people's lives for renting a
exactly.
car just because your system couldn't process it fast enough because you're using outdated computers. So
Man, I hope whomever had an issue with Hertz or has experienced something due to Hertz's incompetence, I hope that you get every last single dime from that company. I hope if you got a record from dealing with Hertz, I hope if you ever got locked up from Hertz, I hope anything that's happened because of Hertz, I hope everything gets waived and I hope you get paid immediately, expeditiously, because that just goes to show that corporations sometimes they don't really care about the consumer. It's all about money. It's all about making business. It's all about the bottom dollar at the end of the day and increased profits. That's all some people care about. A lot of business care about. So spend your money on some better quality out there, on some maybe a better rent a car company. I don't know who, but just not Hertz.
they're
Stay
all pretty
away.
difficult.
Hey man, I don't know what else to say. Get a car.
No, like all right, yeah. Well, I do say renting car is necessary sometimes, right? You're renting car for 2 or 3 days,
Yeah,
but
if you're on vacation, sometimes you know you can't drive your car all the way down to a certain state because your car will be over. It'll be done for your car. It'll be a wrap, son. So sometimes you might need to rent a car for a couple of days while you're in a different state or on vacation.
yeah.
It's more expensive to move your car to that state than it is to actually just rent a car for a couple of days.
Yeah, I agree.
So just don't do it with Hertz, people. That's it.
That's what it feels. Yeah, all these companies are super suspicious. I feel like now if I ever rent a car, it's like I have to call them, say I need you to email me the receipt so I know
Mm.
the payment went through. So you don't call the cops on me.
What about Zipcar? Is Zipcar a thing global in America other than New York?
I'm not too sure on renting because I'm 27. So as like in the world of renting, you have to be over the age of like 25 to rent a car.
I mean, we
So
passed that age.
yeah, it's like I like so I mean like I haven't rented a car before.
Okay.
And you need a credit card too, which is insane.
Yeah, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. And that's why I have credit cards, people, so I can do things like that when I
Yeah.
get a car or when I get a license first off. Have you heard about these Joro spiders, bro, coming into the East Coast?
No, what's that?
So Joro spider is a spider that's from Asia. It's from Japan, and apparently they're making their way to the East Coast. And the way they're making their way to the East Coast is through like cargo ships, similar to the bubonic plague, and apparently it's going to be infiltrating the East Coast very soon. The earliest being May, and it's gonna be a high influx of these Joro spiders, right? So the reason why people have been bugging out over these Joro spiders is because they can literally fall from the sky attached to parachutes, because the web of the webbing that they use, they can make a parachute, and so they can legit fall from the sky. Thankfully though, they're not radioactive. They're not poisonous. The fangs are too small to actually like bite humans. So I think that's a good thing. But now that we have spiders that is infiltrating the East Coast from a different country, people are concerned. Thankfully, they do eat bugs and all that stuff too. So hopefully, it can bring some good to the ecosystem. But I low key am just very sad that my chances of being Spider-Man is looking slim to none.
Give up. That's all it is. Just give up on being Spider-Man. You're from Brooklyn. Anyways.
You're right. We have Captain America in Brooklyn.
Nah, I think I'm gonna say Miles Morales.
Nah. Well, that too, but Captain America too is from Brooklyn. Okay, next song of the week. Bashin', it's gonna be another Biggie related song. We just played Ashanti, but now let's talk about the one, the only Lil' Kim, one of the pioneers of modern day rap with women rap. I wouldn't want to say female because female doesn't sound right, but the modern day women's rap. Think about all the wigs and the costumes. That a lot of that generated from Lil' Kim first, and the breakout song that she was in was "Crush on You," featuring Little C's, but also Biggie's on the hook too. So you see where I'm going with the Biggie stuff, Bashing. I'm playing women.
Word.
You see how I'm doing this, man. Anyways, this is Lil' Kim, "Crush on You," featuring Little C's. We'll be right back. Lil' Kim, Lil C's, B.I.G, "Crush on You," the breakout song, one of the breakout songs for one Lil' Kim. Bastion, man, it's still a nostalgic song. I love that song so much. I love the video. It was Lil' Kim with different wigs, different colors on. Of course, you had it couldn't have been the 90s without all the different R&B collabs. You had Aaliyah in the video, you had Missy in the video, Uncle Luke in the video. You know what I'm saying? I miss those videos. I miss those vibes.
I do find it interesting, the conversation that's not an R&B scene the same way there was in the early 2000s and the 90s, because rappers and R&B singers, it's like we go hand in hand with each other.
Yes.
I think back then it was more like, I'm the rapper, you're the R&B singer, let's get this money together.
Yeah.
And I think later on it's like R&B singers want to be rappers and rappers want to be R&B singers, which is like kind of our era. Now you could just do both, which is fine too, but no one's master of the class.
That is fair. And also, I feel like a lot the R&B artists are a lot more tougher than the rappers nowadays too.
Exactly. So they're I won't say that. Like,
No,
well, it's the
they
stars, the rap stars, I could say, not the all stars, not the superstars, just the rap stars.
Yeah, the rap stars.
Yeah,
like you have Miguel doing leg drops on fans. Let's never forget Chris Brown throwing bottles at Drake.
Yeah. I haven't heard of Miguel album in a minute.
Me neither. But he
like,
just got back
just
with his
singers.
wife. Yeah, they're just singers, but they are no punks. Ty Dolla $ign.
Are these R&B singers or just singers? That's a whole theory for another episode.
That's a whole theory in itself. Yeah, we need to we got to come back to this
But
topic.
Speaking of masters of their class, in terms of the rappers that will outshine everybody else, especially during their first album, the notorious B.I.G.
Yes.
Gio, all you, man.
Yes, 25 years ago. Well, March 9th. It's currently March 10th, but it's still March 9th, okay? March 9th, 1997 will go down. It's one of the worst nights, one of the worst days in hip-hop history, because 25 years ago to the day we have lost one, Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G., one of the first true kings of New York. Now, you got to remember, too, Ready to Die came out in 1994, the same year as Illmatic. And as we all know, Illmatic is now considered to be this hip-hop masterpiece. But back then, no one really cared for Illmatic like that when it came out, because Biggie was the one that came out with a lot of the radio-friendly records, but also the street stuff as well, Bastion. He had songs like Juicy, he had songs like Big Papa, but also he had songs like The What featuring Method Man. He had Unbelievable, he had Warning. So it was a nice blending of radio-friendly hits for the women and hits for the kids, but also hits for the street dudes. Nas just had, it was just like rappity rap type. But it was still
street
great.
Rap.
It was street rap, but it was great street rap, right? I don't know the first time, I'll be honest with you, I do not know the first time I heard Biggie. And that's weird because I think it's similar to how people view Tupac in California. It's like, it was just like Biggie's always just been around. Like, I just always heard him. I just don't know the first time I heard him. And that's weird because I remember the first time I heard 50. I remember the first time I heard Jay. I remember the first time I heard Pop Smoke, right? I remember the first time I heard a lot of artists come out of New York. But I don't remember the first time I've ever heard Biggie, because Biggie was just always played. You see what I'm saying? Like, he was just there.
You know what? I understand what you mean. Even music that came out before we were born, right?
Yes.
I completely understand, because I remember listening to Nas in high school because I finally got the whole record.
Right.
It's like, because I listened to old Nas, but I didn't never listen to Illmatic.
Right. I listened to family friendly
like
Nas.
Godson.
Right. I remember listening to like Hate Me Now, right? I remember I Know I Can. Like, I remember those records.
Exactly. I know I Can before I heard of Illmatic.
Exactly. I didn't know of Illmatic.
Agree. Same thing about Wu-Tang for me. It's like I remember discovering Wu-Tang in elementary school, and I was just so shook by 36 Chambers. Like, wow, this is music from 1993. This is crazy.
Right.
And just playing it nonstop like it came out yesterday.
See, and I didn't really know of Wu-Tang until I got older, but I knew about Redman and Method Man.
Yeah. Same thing for Outkast. Like, I feel like I've known them all my life, but it's not true. I know them because of Hey Ya and the Roses music video that will play on BET all the time.
There you go.
And of course, as I grew older, I went back to stuff. But I completely agree. I don't remember when. I always knew who Biggie Smalls was. I always knew who Tupac was. So
and I think that just comes with just being a native New Yorker. Like, every day you're still gonna hear his music on radio, no matter what radio station you're listening to. You're gonna hear it at least once a day. You're gonna hear Juicy, you're gonna hear Big Papa, you're probably gonna hear Hypnotized still. Mo Money Mo Problems is still one of my favorite records, and I swear to God, if I make money, the only reason I will ever get a rollie is when he says, where the true play is at, throw your rollies in the sky, wave from side to side to keep your hands high. That's the only reason why I ever want a rollie in life. Not because Meek Mill raps about it 15 times, but just so I can wave my rollie in the side, wave them side to side, keep my hands high.
Yeah. You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
Going back to their albums and looking at the music. Just looking at like what song and track placement. Because nowadays you can listen to their music on like shuffle. You can put it in a playlist, and you're just nitpicking. You're just picking certain Biggie songs you want to listen to for that second.
I was doing that all day today.
But I was looking at the first album, like Ready to Die, and so it's like, I'm gonna make a list. So I'm like, I was gonna make a list of like Biggie Smalls songs that I like and just talk about them. But instead, I was just like writing every single song. All right, next song, track 2, next song, track 3. I'm like writing them all down. It's like, wait a minute, this just straight up all bangers. I haven't listened to a full complete Biggie Smalls album in a long time, but I do listen to these songs time after time and like playlists and stuff. So like, of course, Give Me the Loot is good workout music, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just the boom bat of it. You know, you could run to the steps or Ready to Die and Juicy. That song is just forever. I feel like I never studied the lyrics of Juicy. I just always known it.
It is the quintessential New York song. It's the
Yeah,
quintessential Brooklyn song too,
yeah.
honestly. Like that's
Then
number 1.
then of course it's just like Big Papa, Suicidal Thoughts, and Who Shot You. You know what I mean? It's like Who Shot You, which is interesting. And this just to kind of convey the story around like when you discover these artists, it's not that you don't understand their backstory at a young age. Like you just know where they're from and why they're number one.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like kids up to today, right? They know who Jay-Z is and they know he's number one, but they're not going to listen to Reasonable Doubt until they're 16, 17, unless their parents just play Reasonable Doubt for them. Because they're not going to do that. They're going to play the newest. They're going to listen to 444 most likely, or Blueprint
Right.
most likely, before listen to Reasonable Doubt.
Or listening to records with Beyonce on them.
Yeah,
You
those are easier to listen to. If anything, any new single that Jay-Z happens to be on, shoot, like the New York with Alicia Keys.
Yes. Empire State of Mind.
Empire State of Mind. I actually
3.
heard it the other day in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like something was scraping like my brain with like a back scratcher. So it's just like this, it's like, oh, this song, this really is hard to listen to.
Hey, say what you will about that song, but that was his first ever number 1 ever. And that became another quintessential New York record because for the longest, it was just New York from Frank Sinatra, whole Blue Eyes. And then this frickin' song came out, and that damn song was everywhere. Everywhere.
Nah, I just cannot listen to that song.
Hey, I understand. I totally get it. I understand why.
Yeah. It's like, it's like scraping like ice from the sidewalk or something. It's just very difficult to do, and it's just painful just to even think about it. So that's how I feel about the song. Anyways, just making a joke about that song. It's like you already know these songs because of how important it is to the culture, and by osmosis, it feels like you're born already knowing the rules of the streets, already knowing the rules of hip hop. It's like, yeah, Biggie Smalls and Tupac, they're like the forefathers of most of the people's today style. Not really. You don't see the true influence in today, but if you were to look at the lineage to what is like the music of today, then you could see like where their music comes from.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people say this, and especially in New York during that time, the 3 best MCs, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas.
Yeah.
Those were the 3. Those were the trifecta here in New York. Everyone always played off of that. Biggie for, of course, Ready to Die. Nas being like the spitter, of course, with Illmatic, and then Jay being Biggie's friend and all too, coming out with Reasonable Doubt because Biggie's still alive during that time. People were like, "Oh shoot! Like, who's the best MC? Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas." But Biggie had a different flow to a lot of those cats because I don't know if you've seen the documentary that was on Netflix, the new one, where it really took you really got to see Biggie in his early days in life. You got to really understand his roots of being a first generation Caribbean American like we are. He's from Jamaica. You got to understand, the musical lineage that he had in Jamaica because he had an uncle who was a dancehall artist. You got to see his mentors here in Bed-Stuy. Like I remember this swing jazz artist that he was cool with, and so he got his style from the jazz that he was listening to because his flow, Biggie's flow, he was swinging all the time. He was flowing in this rhythmic pattern. That's the flow of Biggie, but that's a jazz riff. That's a jazz flow. That's what I learned from that documentary. And you got to think about also Life After Death, his final album when he was alive, and that just marked its 25th anniversary as well. It came out March 4th, and then he died 3 days later. No, sorry, 5 days later, going
Yeah.
over to LA. So, see, people, stop going to LA. All right, that's where rappers die.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, just going back to the music and listening, just really paying attention. It's like wondering like when these albums came out, how do you feel about it? But also understanding it's like this is a huge influence to music of today. But at the same time, I think it's just influences like this is what they did back then. I'm not trying to copy this style, which is very interesting.
Yeah, you had to be unique. You had to have your own flavor. You had to be different during that era. You couldn't sound like the next person, because when you sounded like the next person, you were biting. And that's why there was a lot of issue back then on artists that sounded like certain artists. For example, right after Biggie died, there was this new signee to Bad Boy called Sean Poe. I don't know if you remember Mr. Sean Poe, Bastion, but his flow, he sounded a lot like Biggie when he was during his tenure of Bad Boy. I don't know if you remember this at all.
No, I don't.
Well, also,
That's talking about Shine, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about Shine.
Yeah, I am talking about Shine.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying his full name, Sean Poe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Shine.
Yeah, Shine. Sorry. Well, Shine. Yes, the man who was deported back to Belize. Yes, him. But during his career, right after Biggie passed away, his flow sort of resembled what Biggie used to do in his flow. Also, you got to think about, steering away from Biggie, you got to think about DMX and Ja Rule. They had their issues because DMX felt like Ja Rule was biting his style, that aggressive growling rap style. DMX felt like Ja Rule was biting, and there was this classic interview. Well, this classic rant. There was a Ja Rule rant on Hot 97 where he was addressing DMX and addressing the fact that people were saying he sounded like DMX, but also he tried to be like Tupac because he had a bald head and he's wearing the bandana like Tupac, and he was all tatted up like Tupac. And so he was like, I hear all the rumors about me being Pac, and then he started screaming, "You guys want Tupac to come back? You want him back? Well, he's back. It's here." I swear to God, he did it. I will play you the interview. I will play you the interview. But I swear he did that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's a real thing, man. You couldn't sound like the next person because people will call you out for it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's more of an old school rap thing because nowadays sometimes you could be doing a collab track with someone that sounds exactly like you.
That is true. And we don't really, it isn't as bad. People don't really call it out that much anymore, but you do see who survives if you take a certain style and you try to sound almost exactly like another artist. You feel me?
Yeah, I get it. It's difficult to do, but as long as like if you have the same style or the same voice or tone, as long as it's not the same like music preference or beat selection, I think you could get around that. You can't sound like Ghostface Killer and rap on Ghostface Killer type beats. It just won't be good.
It's interesting that you mentioned Ghostface Killer because do you remember when Papa Wu and some of the Wu-Tang members confronted Action Bronson because Action said on ESPN that Ghostface wasn't rapping like how he is? I don't know if you remember
I
that.
remember the context of it, and he wasn't saying it like that, but of course, in a very hip hop stance, you would take it like that. So would I if I was Ghost.
Right. I mean, Ghost went on this big rant about trying to gut him like a fish while playing over some track, some like wholesome ass track, and he's talking about gutting Action Bronson like a pig.
The thing about Ghost is like, rap wasn't like the thing for him, right? It was just something that just ended up working out really well. And for him to see someone using his voice and his Now, I won't say it's the style. It's definitely
Mm-hmm.
not the style, but definitely the voice is very similar.
That is
The
true.
beat selection is very similar, but I won't say it's fraud. He didn't steal anything, but he did open the lane for like the high pitch, but like still hood caliber type voice. That's the type of voice Ghost has. It's pretty interesting. Very, very
Yeah.
different, unique for its time, and still is. I
Mm-hmm.
still think it's very unique voice for its time. So
Oh.
yeah, I do remember listening to Ghostface Killer in junior high school back in
Mm-hmm.
like 2005, no, 2007, 2008, and then listen to Action Bronson like 2011. It's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is interesting.
Yeah. Do you ever wonder about what the rap game would be like if Biggie and Tupac were still alive?
I think it'll be very similar. I do
Mm.
think more certain rappers close to them would have popped off. I
Mm.
do think there's still room to grow in
Mm.
others. Like how people said like if Big L didn't die, Jay-Z wouldn't pop off.
Oh no,
So
people are saying that about Biggie. Like ever since once Biggie and Pac passed away, Jay
mhm.
was able to, rise up and be the Jay that we all know now.
So
Including in Jay's rap, he doesn't steal Biggie's lines, but he always, pays homage to Biggie by, saying a line that Biggie said once in a
ev-
while.
yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I look at it, there's still room
Mm.
for people. I don't know why people think there's no room for anybody else to come in the door.
Mm.
Because one thing that I've studied and really, really focused is it's really back in the day, 80s and 90s, it's really hard to do well on your third album if you're not like a pop star.
Mm. Okay.
It's really difficult. I won't say that they would have fell off or anything, but I feel like they won't be as explosive during their third or fourth album as it was the first one,
Mm-hmm.
which gives room for other rappers to be explosive during their third album or their fourth album.
Question then: are you saying Life After Death isn't as good of an album as Ready to Die?
That's his second album.
That is his second album.
No, it's still good, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying it's like no matter what, this is kind of how hip hop is designed. It's just weird like that. If we're still making music for your fans that want it, they most likely won't buy it the third time around
Mm.
unless you decided to go either pop, where if new fans who didn't buy your first album is buying your third album, or you decided to go a different direction.
Well, Biggie started leaning into more of that popish sort of, listenable tracks that everyone could listen to in Life After Death. One of my favorite records on it. More Money, More Problems is on that. Hypnotize is on that record. What else we got? Sky's the Limit. It was a lot more family friendly
No,
content.
I definitely understand what you mean, but
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say is like by the third album,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say if you were to release a third album, if you count Born Again, right? It's like there's still room to
We
to
can't
grow.
count Born Again. That's not
Exactly.
fair.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Posthumous.
So in 1999, if he drops a new latest album,
Right.
the people that are popping off in 1999 would be on the album too.
So it would be like Biggie featuring Genuine and the Hot Boys.
Exactly. It's like that's how it works. That's how it's always worked. For no matter what artist we think is huge at the moment, we just see what they did later on. Like 50 Cent's a great example. Because you feel like 50 Cent in 2001 couldn't do what 50 Cent did in 2005.
That is
right?
true.
He did a lot of interesting things in 2005. He did a lot of interesting things in 2007.
That is
So
true.
these are all three different type of 50 Cents who's able to conquer the game in the very most gangsterous way of all time,
Going after everyone.
going after everyone, like burn all bridges. Wait, there were no bridges, like make zero friends,
Yes.
right? And still succeed in a high platform. And he's still able to do that to this day. So that's why people say like, oh, so and so didn't die, so and so wouldn't like be popular. It's like, no, yeah, they would be popular. If anything, they'll probably have more help because this person would have been there. So they probably been popping off maybe 6 months earlier or a year early. It's like Nicki Minaj, right? She
Yeah.
popped off. She was popping off in Queens. What took her global is her working with Lil Wayne and Young Money. And then she could do whatever she wants. Did she need Young Money's approval? Probably not. she probably could got there maybe in 2 years, but having signed with Little Wayne's Young Money, boom,
Right. And plus, Lil Wayne was one of the hardest artists at that time too.
number one,
He was number one, best
literally
rapper
number one.
alive, arguably during that
Exactly.
time.
So if you're in, you use Biggie Smalls, same thing for Lil Kim. Not the same developing relationship, but in the same, I'm gonna put you on, just be on this type of music, and that's it.
Mm.
And you could do whatever you want. That's the way I look at it. It's like I said, Nicki Minaj was already popping. I'm from Queens. I've known people that was listening to her mixtapes at the time, telling me she's up next. 6 months later, she's doing like music and talking with Lil Wayne. So boom, that's just the way it works. It's like certain rappers will just pop off faster. Maybe Jay-Z would have popped off a little bit faster.
Well, I mean, Jay-Z started Rockefeller, so I don't know if during that time, I don't think Biggie would be able to sign Jay because they did their own thing already. There was Jay, Dame, and Big, so that Rockefeller stuff was popping off. But maybe if they were able to do more records together,
Like go on tour
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Maybe
tour
even
and-
work with different artists together. That could have been something. Even have
Yeah.
like a boot camp where rappers just learn how to rap like them. Like
True.
no notebooks, just off the dome.
I mean, during the earliest, stages of Bad Boy and Rockefeller, there was a lot of cross working together. In the hardcore album, there's a J verse in one of the records for Lil Kim.
Yeah.
Of course, you got Brooklyn's Finest, one of my favorite records off of Reasonable Doubt, featuring Biggie on that. And then on Life After Death, you got another J record, I Love the Dough. So if they were alive, I think we would see a lot more collaborations. Maybe we might not get Watch the Throne with Kanye. We might get a joint Biggie and Jay album or something first. I don't know. That would be nuts, by the way. A joint Biggie and Jay album. Sorry, that was my phone. But a joint Biggie and Jay album. That would be fire. That would have been tight.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess like years later on, they would have made something together. So that's what I mean. Like I always try to dismiss these conversations. Like whoever your favorite rapper was at a certain point in time, like I didn't say will fall off, but then it definitely won't be as popular because that's how music works. Like we try to look for what's next, anyways.
I mean,
So
during this modern day, man, Drake is still popular.
So what? I forgot who made the joke. Maybe I think it was Jesus and Mero when they're saying like if Tupac was alive, he would definitely be in one of those Tyler Perry movies.
Don't do that. Don't do
because
that.
he's an actor.
He
right?
is an actor, but
he was doing these movies.
He was in John Singleton films. Damn it.
So eventually, that's what John Singleton films most popular film. Like those next films became those Tyler Perry movies. And you can see who's in those movies, right? Not dissing Tupac at all. I'm just being very truthful and being honest in this day and age. What would he still be doing to this day? He'll still be acting, still be rapping, but whose movies is he going to be doing? Those are like the black movies of today. Who's hiring black actors like that? If not trying to do, Denzel type stuff.
Issa Rae. Okay, we got Issa Rae, damn it.
TV shows. All right.
We got Jordan Peele. Okay.
Yeah.
Just not Tyler Perry.
I'm telling you that will be during his prime. So in terms of acting.
Oh man, yeah, because Tupac would have been what in his 30s still when Tyler Perry stuff has been popping off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I just don't want to. I don't want to picture Tupac like beating the.
I won't say like one, but I definitely do feel like he would be in. No, I am saying one. I'm not saying like a series. I'm not saying being 8.
I know,
but like Janet Jackson is in 2 of them. All right,
that is true.
So just letting you know these.
She wasn't. Yo, imagine if it wasn't Malik Yoba and Why Did I Get Married To and one. It was Tupac and Janet again. Like, oh, it's the Lucky and Justice reunion for Why Did I Get Married. Oh man.
Damn, Gio, you're just writing the marketing script for that. So
hey, it's what I do, man.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. It's like we do have to reminisce, and I think we still have to praise, but I also don't think we have to dismiss like music for today. It's like, yeah,
No, I'm not.
we were inspired by these artists, and we still are, because every time you want to be a hip hop purist, and people are hip hop purists for a couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
They listen to Biggie, listen to old school Tupac, listen to old school Jay-Z, and it's like, this is what real hip hop's about.
Right.
And eventually they gotta listen to that new Babytron Megatron album, okay, that just released.
I've heard nothing but the worst from that album.
I heard nothing but the great from that album. I don't know who you follow. You probably follow hip hop purists when you heard the Babytron Megatron album once.
I didn't even hear it.
Oh, it's great. I like it a
It's
lot.
good?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Babytron is the 21-year-old rapper from Michigan. Dropped a new album, Megatron. It's one of those like bar for bar flows, which I do have a problem with, because sometimes it sounds like they're recording the line one line at a time.
Hmm.
That's just how it sounds.
That's
Like,
scary.
no, it's not scary. It's common. Like, people used to do it, but you could tell that they're recording the bar one line at a time. It's just how it's edited. It's not scary. It's normal. Like, most hip hop songs are done one line at a time,
Oh, really?
but we just can't tell.
See, like I remember just watching behind the scenes of like just Jay rapping, and he just
Mhm.
doesn't do one
No,
bar. He just
name
raps.
name someone else that isn't
That
S
isn't
tier
Jay.
poet.
Okay. Oh, that I've seen.
Yeah, like most rappers, and I tell you, like, right. I mean,
I mean,
rap one bar at a time.
I mean, I recently saw Genius, and Kanye don't really do that neither.
No, but he's from that era though.
That
But
so modern day rapper.
modern rappers, it's also easier too, because we could be on Ableton, and I could just say, like, hey, record now. All right, you can hear your vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Insert line here. All right, stop. Go back. Press play. Insert line here. Another line here. Just keep going back and back and back, and it's just 16 bars.
The baby don't do. I don't think the baby does that. He just raps fast.
The baby could do maybe 10 takes, and they fuse 10 takes together, and boom, one song.
That could be a thing. That can be fair. That can be true.
Yeah, that the NBA YoungBoy type flow. But if you want to listen to some songs from this album, definitely check out I think like Chess Players. That's a good song. And also, he sampled the Harry Potter theme song.
Wait, what?
And it's a song called The Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, just check out, like, listen to Megatron. Fine, Gio, just listen to it like one.
Sure, I'll listen to it. Yeah.
One full time. And if you like a couple songs, listen to the songs. If you don't like it, then just stop. But
Okay.
I think you'll like Babytron.
Okay. Did you hear this? The Baby and Young Boy record, Better Than You?
I only heard it once. I didn't really pay much attention to it when I was listening to it.
Oh,
I thought the beat selection was decent. But like I said, just went over my head, and I'm not too crazy about listening to the Baby. I always thought he uses the same flow a little bit too much.
he does.
And NBA YoungBoy is a little bit more interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like the way the fans talk about him, stuff, you eventually listen to him. But yeah, I like NBA YoungBoy, but I'm not too crazy about this collaboration. I'm not even sure where it came off. Like, what? Like, are they best friends? I don't really.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's kind of hard to tell sometimes. Like, do these rappers like each other? Do these rappers want to make music with each other? No, because I know, like, everybody wants to make music with Lil Baby. Like Lil Baby, Lil Durk. Like, they do hang out, and we know that.
Those are the two right now, man, in this modern age, and it's crazy because Lil Durk has been out for like 10 years, and people tend to forget that before he had the blonde dreads. He's been out for 10 years, but now it's nice to see Durk on top right now. It's been a slow come up, but he's now there, and he's with Lil Baby. Those are the two right now that we have so far in this generation. Lil Baby and Lil Durk. That is it. For now, at least. I listened to the new Kodak Black album, Back for Everything. Bastion, have you listened to that album as well?
No, I have not.
It's okay. So Kodak Black is one talented mofo, right? No matter what controversies he gets himself into,
A lot.
which is a lot. I mean, he recently got shot, but he's survived now. He's good. Thankfully, I'm happy he's alive. Uh, I mean, he got he got pardoned by the president a year ago. That's something to talk about as well. And the crazy thing about Kodak is, despite all of his controversies, despite not staying away from the BS, this man's music is dope bashing, and that's what I don't like about him. I respect the music, and I just respect the tactics. I respect it. I respect it so much. He's so talented, man. He has a great flow. He knows how to evict emotion through his music. You don't think this gremlin, as he calls himself, has feelings, but he has feelings, and he is able to convey these feelings through his music. And then talk about being a gremlin and talking about murdering people and, you know, being the top Zoe and all that stuff. See, you know, making people be on some ZZ stuff. Okay, that is Kodak. I know he doesn't. You know, you're not the biggest fan of Kodak. You may respect him musically, Bastion, but I don't know, man. Kodak Black is one talented dude. He just needs to stop being part of the BS.
No, the BS is why he could do what he do. That's why they respect what he respect. And yeah,
And it's the
dangerous.
music too, though. It's really the music, because his music is really good, like really good. Kodak got joints. Okay, let's not forget, Kodak is responsible for one of Cardi B's biggest songs ever. That was because of Kodak.
Oh, a Bodak Yellow.
Yes. His earlier song, No Flocking. And Cardi even said, yeah, I got that inspiration from the Kodak Black song. Also, Kodak, he's versatile with his raps now. This man can rap in Creole if he wants to. You know he does. He does that sometimes. And Haitian Boy Kodak last year. It's one of my favorite albums of 2021. He can do that if he wants to.
I wonder if he got help. That's what I wonder.
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe. But maybe not. He's Haitian. He's from Florida. They speak a lot of Creole down there. I don't know. Maybe.
Interesting. Do you remember the artist Stormy?
Yes. Yes, I
Yes.
do. You keep talking to me about him.
So back then in 2013, he came out with an album called Racine Curry. And that was pretty much the album that made him globalize. And he's a French singer and rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And he recently came out with an album called Multitude. And it's strange because I remember listening to his music back in 2013. It's like, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. I didn't really think, you know, an artist like him would try to make globalized music in the terms of like, you know, making French music, making for French people. It's really hard to get it to like American ears like me. I'm like the American audience.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing pretty good. You know, he got the very interesting music videos. He's got cool dance routines going on tour. So I started paying attention a little bit. Then he kind of just disappeared, and I just forgot about him for a long time. So he's back, new album, Multitude. I heard a couple of times. I do recommend people to go listen to it. The best way to describe it, it's more of like house music mixed with nice orchestra music. So it does have this very high volume where it gets very loud in a very orchestra sense. And then, of course, he comes and he's either singing or rapping, telling a very good or interesting story. And I always recommend people, if they get a chance, to check out his music videos because it always it amplifies the message of the song. And that's something most artists really suck at doing. It's like, come on, music videos should kind of to make the song a little bit better. I think A$AP Rocky has mastered that. Because most songs you listen to, you're like, whatever. Then you watch the music videos, like, oh, this is fire.
Oh, yeah.
Then you just love the song all over again.
A$AP definitely has that. He definitely does that with a lot of his music videos. His music videos are golden. Sometimes the song may not connect with me, but
after watching the video, it makes a little bit more sense.
It makes a bit more sense. But honestly, A$AP Rocky could do whatever he wants to now.
The price has gone up.
The price has gone up. Shout out
Yeah.
to you, ASAP.
So definitely check out Stormeye. Great artist. If you can, try to find the lyrics in English translated from French.
Okay,
French.
nice. I want to talk about an album that I've been listening to nonstop since Friday night into just even now. You know, it's the Batman soundtrack from the one and only Michael Giacchino. It's a great ass album. It's a great soundtrack. It's a great listen if you want to feel like you're in Gotham. If you want to have that dark, gritty, emo feel to you, if you want to see nothing but red hues, then definitely take a listen to this album. It is dope. It makes you want to listen to it over and over again. It's similar to how you felt about that Flying Lotus album, about that Black Samurai show.
Yeah.
Yasuke, yes. It's exactly how I feel about listening to this soundtrack right here. It puts me right back in Gotham. It makes me go back to the scenes on each track where I not listen to it. Apologies. It makes me want to go back to those scenes. It takes me back to those scenes every time I hear each soundtrack, if that makes sense.
Oh no, I definitely understand what you mean. It's just the soundtrack within itself is a beautiful album.
Yes.
It feels like it's telling a story without
Yes.
you watching or needing the context.
Especially today since it was snowing and raining. What? Are you crazy? I was blasting this.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it out because Yasuke was just a great piece. I never watched any of the anime itself,
Nor should you ever.
but
It's
I
horrible.
definitely understand if an artist knows how to make music and connect it to the art piece as
Which
well.
he did so well. He scored this movie so well. And so just listening to the soundtrack itself, chef's kiss. It's such a good soundtrack, ladies and gentlemen. And I urge you, if you have not listened to the soundtrack, listen to the damn soundtrack. Watch the movie, then listen to the soundtrack because it's fire. It's fire. It's one of my
Also,
favorites.
kind of reminds me of the Black Panther soundtrack because that's something we bumped a lot.
Yes, absolutely. I think that was the last like really good movie soundtrack album. You know, because Space Jam 2 sucked. I'm sorry, Space Jam: A New Legacy sucked.
A New Legacy.
Yes.
It's still lame to name things like that.
Yeah.
Like, what about Space Jam 3? You gonna call that a new legacy?
Who's gonna be in Space Jam 3?
Who, like, if we're looking at today,
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe
Zion.
John Morant.
Oh, okay.
John Morant, I could see as the next superstar of the NBA. Maybe in like the next 2 years, he should be in superstar status.
Not Zion anymore. We done.
He hasn't played in a year.
Oh shoot.
He hasn't played all season.
Oh damn. He injured?
Yeah,
Yikes.
he's late. Yeah,
I'm
he has
late.
like a toe injury and stuff.
Oh. Damn, that
So,
sucks.
So yeah, like Zion, if Zion was still playing like this season and he went to the All Star again, then sure, I'll say he's on his way to superstardom. Because his first like official play almost every single game, he went to the All Star. But as of right now, I think John Morant will be like maybe in 10 years.
He's been
They'll
killing it.
they'll do another Space Jam with him.
Man, I just hope they leave that franchise alone, man. Just leave it.
It's not a franchise. It's not a franchise.
Well, they should just leave that movie title alone.
I agree. Oh, there's another artist. You ever listen to the Cool Kids?
Yeah, I have listened to the Cool Kids. They were in Afropunk one year.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Cool Kids, Sir Michael Rocks and Chuck English, they've been around for a pretty long time.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's been years, maybe like 12 years. I remember when their mixtape, The Tackle Box, came out back in 2010 during like the backpack blog era. So anytime new artists will come out with new songs, it has to be on like either Dat Piff or you can find it on Two Dope Boys or Nah Right, just someone writing an article about them. And it's been kind of nostalgic thinking about them than going to listen to their new album before stuff gets weird.
Very good. You censored yourself.
And when I was listening to this album, it felt very nostalgic, but also up to date. It felt like taking beats from 2011 and just putting them in the eyes or in the ears of 2022 production. Because in order to understand what I'm trying to say, you got to like look back on how we used to use hi-hats in production. We used to space them out. It felt like you had to tap the hi-hat. Right now, is everything is just computerized and going really, really fast, and like maybe like a 132 or something. And like even how they use claps, which I feel like most producers don't use claps when they're producing music as of right now. And the drums are very spacious, and the what I call like a chord piano just sounds very, very reminiscent of like the type of chords was used a lot back in like the early 2010s. So they and just to quickly talk about the album, I think they did a great job coming out with music. I feel like they knew who the target audience was with this album. Like, hey, remember us? We're the cool kids. We could still rap. We make great beats, and we could still like out rap most of these rappers of today. And which is true. And I thought they did a great job. I thought like even the guests they had on the album, like Flop Dad 4000, Slack, GID, Don Cannon, right? Don Cannon, Pac Div, even Chance the Rappers on this.
Oh god.
So it was pretty interesting seeing like Pac Div and Don Cannon. It's like, oh man, they're probably just like, remember when we were like number one in the game? So yeah. And I always thought about like the hip hop blog era. It's like all those guys. If I were to consider like what level they're on right now, maybe everybody was like an NBA YoungBoy level. It's like they had fans, but they couldn't reach mainstream.
Except for Wale.
Yeah, Wale, he was signed. That's the thing. Most of
enough.
these guys weren't signed to major level record labels. Wale was
Good
signed
point.
to Rock Nation.
That man was making records with Lady Gaga.
And then he was working with Make Back Music.
Right.
And I think that's what amplified his music a little bit better.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think Rock Nation kind of messed up with him because he's all around talented, but it's like you still gotta tell him to like make music. And I do think Affectionate Deficit was a great Wale album, but also the Cool Kids, when the Fish Ride Bicycles didn't hit that success that they wanted, but I still think it was a great album as well. But yeah, definitely check out the Cool Kids. Better stuff gets weird before stuff gets weird.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Black Seinfeld. Just a reminder, this show is available for all podcasting platforms such as Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, but also you can go on blackseinfeld.com to listen to all the latest and greatest episodes. Please do not forget to follow us on all social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff at Black Seinfeld NY. If you'd like to send us any messages, an email, comments, blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. We'll see you all next week. Hopefully we'll talk about some other stuff. Hopefully the world doesn't go into complete craps. Anything else to say, Bastion?
See y'all next week.
See you next week. Peace.
Peace.